Well, howdy folks, how's everybody doing out there in YouTube land? This has been a little update video on my 59 edsel here. I've been working on and off. It's been a little while since I posted a video, and the reason why the video is dark is it's nighttime and I've been working on these lights here trying to get them straightened out. And just about got them all working now. But I finally got my turn signal fixed on my left side. I had to go in there and retrofit a GM pigtail for this lower bumper turn signal here because it wouldn't blink. It would come on, but it wouldn't blink. So that led me to believe that it wasn't the switch in the column, it was something else. So let me open the door up, and I actually got the light working. The dome light works now. I kept playing with it and I kept fiddling with the fuses, and I pulled a bunch of them out and put them all back in, and I guess maybe where they wasn't getting a good enough connection or something. But anyway, now my dome light works. The only thing that don't work on it now, which I'm thinking is probably got corrosion or something, is when you turn the headlight switch all the way back, the light doesn't come on. So of course I got my switch at my door here. Push that in, my light goes out. Let it go, it comes back on. See? So that works. That works on both sides. And so I'm thinking I'm gonna hold it in here. So if I hold it in, I'm gonna point y'all directly at it. I turn my headlight switch all the way back to the left, it doesn't come on. But if I let go of the switch at the door, and it comes on. So I'll have to look into that. I don't know if it's got corrosion inside this switch here on the headlights here, or either I mean, maybe that part's bad or something. I think it's just got corrosion. But I just about got everything working on this thing now almost. But the only thing I can't figure out is I think I got a ground issue, because my taillights, I couldn't get them working, and a lot of it was a ground issue. These sockets on the back of this car here for the taillights. Let me show y'all. Let me pull this headlight out here. Alright, pull my headlight out there. I didn't pull all the way out, but just halfway, just to run my running lights. I apologize for the video being dark, but this is the reason why it's dark, so you can all see it a lot better. So I can see how bright these taillights are. But as you can see, we have all our brake lights except for one working. That one all the way to the left beside this other one right here, if y'all can see it. That one does work. If you twiddle with it a little bit, move it around, it'll get a good ground connection, it'll come on. So that one's good. But for some reason I don't have reverse lights. So I'm going to have to take a voltmeter. If I got 12 volts to the hot wire, once you take the car and actually physically put it in reverse and turn the key on, if I have 12 volts there at the hot, then we know it's a ground issue. But I've replaced all these bulbs, so all the bulbs are good, so it's not that. So I'm thinking it's just a ground. But I got to check to see if we got a hot back there, because that's the only lights I can't get working is the reverse lights. I got to tweak that one over there. I'm going to have to clean the ground connection over there, get that other one on. That way we got all three taillights working. But my brake lights didn't work either, and that was just a brake light switch. This car originally, it was at the master cylinder, and I'm thinking that could be something to do with it too. I had to show a little better video in daylight here, but anyway, trying to get all these lights working. So the only one I don't have now is my reverse lights. But anyway, I got the key on. Let's start the key on here. Got my key on here, and there's my instrument cluster. That green light's still back on. I don't know why that's on. Let me figure that out. That came back on the left side, so I don't know. It might be another bad connection. But I'm gonna turn the left turn signals on. Y'all can hear it blinking. All right, before the light would just stay on, it wouldn't blink. So now we got it blinking. So we got our left turn signal working. Check up front here. That's strange. Okay. Now it's blinking on the front bumper here. So we got the left turn signal works. Let's go to our right turn signal. Huh, that's weird. I ain't never seen that. So if you pull the headlights out just halfway, just for the running lights, not the actual headlight, but your running lights, your tail lights and your parking lights. Huh, wonder why that comes on. Left turn signal comes on. That's weird. Might be the way I got wired, I don't know. But it works, whatever. Alright, so our left turn signal obviously works. Let's go to our right. So all my right turn signal. I can't find no videos on this. There's one on YouTube I found, but I don't remember the name of it, of getting the taillights working again on a 59 edsel. But a lot of the times, a lot of it I'm finding out is just bad grounds. That took and run a little sandpaper around a lot of the ground connections, and I mean, they'll come right on. So now we got our tail light working on the right turn signal. Let's check our front here. So now we got our one on our right working. So now we got all our turn signals working, because before the left one wouldn't come on at all, and I had to, that one, I had to replace the pigtail, and the bulb was bad and wasn't very good connection. But I'm glad that dome light works. That makes it nice. The long story short, come to find out, what was wrong with my turn signals out of everything is the switch in the column was good, because if that was bad, the light wouldn't come on at all. But the left turn signal would just stay on until, you know, you actually took it and put it back up in the middle there. But if you held it down all the way to the left there, it would just stay on. But long story short, I replaced this flasher here. I got thinking this flasher might be bad, so I went and picked up another flasher at the parts place and I installed that. And lo and behold, we got it working again. So now we got turn signals blinking, because the right side would blink but the left wouldn't. So I don't know, it must be either corrosion in it or something. But anyway, that was a pretty easy fix. I just put a new flasher in it here. Got that working. Of course, I got our brake lights working now. I had to go up underneath the dash and on the pedal. Somebody had put a switch in there off of like a GM car. This is the old one. Y'all can see it here, but this is the brake light switch. When it's closed all the way like that, the lights are supposed to stay off. When you hit the pedal, comes out, the lights are supposed to come on. Well, it wasn't doing nothing. But a lot of the wire on this car is just really horrible. It's just old and very brittle. But I'm gonna, eventually my goal is I want to get a whole new wire harness for it, because I'm gonna upgrade the fuse panel. We're gonna go to the blade type fuses and get rid of all them glass fuses, because they just, you can still get them, but eventually they're gonna phase them out to where you can't hardly get them, and they're gonna want an arm and a leg for them. So we're gonna eventually, I'm gonna upgrade that to blade type fuses. But the fuse panel on this car is really, I mean, I wouldn't even honestly call it a fuse panel. It's only like a 10 circuit, I believe. It might be a couple more than that, but it's more or less a very small fuse panel, and it's right above the brake pedal. Now your 59 Galaxies and all that are the same way. But anyway, I got the brake lights working again. I hope y'all can see them. Y'all can see them. I don't think y'all can really see them. Yeah, if y'all look in the middle of the screen there, hit the pedal. So we got our brake lights working. Hope y'all can see it. There we go. Anyway, we got our brake lights working. So we got a left turn signal working, right turn signal's working. Both brake lights are working. I got all the running lights working now. Let me show y'all the headlights real quick. Shut my door there. So I'll pull the switch out and do our headlights. This is low beam. Got both sides working. The left side, they had a really bad ground connection, so it was really dim. But so there's the low beam. Let's do our high beam here. I don't want to leave them on too long because I don't want to make the neighbors mad. So there's our high beam. So now we got all our lights working. We got our bumper. Oh no, our bumper light's not working. But it's weird because if you push the switch in halfway just for running lights, it works. So I push it in halfway, now it's on. So I don't know, maybe the car was designed like that, I don't know. That's strange. I got the horn working, I would show you all that, but I don't want to make our neighbors upset there. I'm sure they don't kind of appreciate me shining headlights. But anyway, this is about the best time I can do it. I can't really tell what was going on. I can see them a little bit during the daylight, but it's just a whole lot better to do it at nighttime. That way I can actually see how bright they are and all that, and make sure everything's good. But anyway, that's where we're at now. So now, only lights I got now is I got to fix that ground connection on that run light all the way to the driver's side on the left. Get a little better ground connection, because that one does work. It's just got a bad ground. So we'll clean that ground connection up, get that working, and then I got to figure out why my reverse lights ain't coming on. And once we get all that straight, my goal is I'm going to take, because I got antique tags on it, and you know I like them. They're nice and all, but you're limited. You know, you're not supposed to drive it so many miles a year and all this and all that stuff. And I mean, I don't drive it every day anyway. I'm not going to drive it every day, especially if it's bad weather. But main reason I want to take this car, I want to get everything straightened out on it, because I'm going to take it and I'm going to get this car inspected, because I'm actually going to switch it over to regular tags here in Virginia. I mean, the downfall is you got to have it inspected every year, but the thing is, though, is it's so much nicer because you can drive it anytime you want. You can drive it however far you want. You know, you have that freedom. And I got antique tags on it right now, and I had to put them on there just so I can get it going, and that way, you know, keep it legal. But the downfall was I can't drive it every day, and I just don't like it, so I'm going to switch it over to regular tags once I get everything a little bit better on it. But it's pretty close now. My brakes are done. I got brand new tires on it. I got Cooper Cobras. I would have loved, really would have loved to put the big white walls back on it, but I just, money's tight right now and I couldn't really afford that. Eventually down the road I am going to put the big white walls back on it, and probably put the wheel covers back on it. And eventually, it'll be much later down the road, but eventually I like to get it painted. But it takes time. It takes time to do this kind of stuff. But it's just no videos hardly of these cars on YouTube there, and you know, this is part of the edsel series here, so I'm trying to do these as detailed as possible. But there's a ground wire on this right in between these two headlights right here, and all I did was I took the screw out. It's just a regular old Phillips screw. Took it out, took a little sandpaper, cleaned behind that ground connection, and what I did is before I put it back together, I turned the headlight switch on, come back out here and held it on there where I had cleaned it off, and of course the headlights were really nice and bright like they're supposed to be. So I went ahead and put that screw back in, got all that installed, and so now I got my headlights nice and bright now, because before I had a really bad ground, and a lot of the stuff on this car I'm finding out it's just bad grounds. I mean, this car probably set, I don't think this car has been on the road in at least probably 20 years. May have been longer. But this car, according to the odometer, I'm sure it's rolled over at least once, but it's got 36,000 miles on it, so I'm figuring, you know, at least 136,000. But I still haven't figured out about the motor. I don't know if it's original or not. I don't know if somebody had it out one time or another, because it's got new freeze plugs in it. They're the steel ones though, unfortunately. I wish they were brass, but that's alright. But I'm trying to figure out if that's the original 360 that you could get in this car. They called it the Super Express V8, which all it was like a 360. And so I'm trying to figure out if it's a 360 or a 390 or a 352. So I really won't know for sure until I pull it out and pull the heads off. But you know, I want to keep this car all together. I don't want it being in a million pieces. I like Jonathan W's videos because he had a good point on that. Why take this car apart in a million pieces? Because then it's going to be forever trying to get it back together. So, you know, I'd rather just fix what's truly, truly needed on it, just to keep it going so I can drive it. Because eventually, once it's nice weather and I get this thing switched over to regular tags on it here in Virginia and get my sticker for it, I'm going to start driving it a lot more frequently. I've only driven it probably a handful of times since I've purchased it, but I mean, it's doing alright. It's doing alright so far, but it still needs a lot of work though. I got my brakes all done, got good tires on it now. I still got to get my gas tank replaced. Right now I'm running off a jug, unfortunately, so I had to run off 5-gallon jug. So obviously you got to replace that before I can get it inspected. And I still got to run a whole new front to rear fuel line. But I'll tell you a little secret on these cars too. If y'all edsel people out there doing brake lines, I tell you the best way to do it, don't buy the pre-bent lines because they don't fit. I wasted all that money on it and they don't fit. I was only able to use 2 of them out of the whole thing. Well, I take that back, actually 3. I used the ones for the rear end and the one for the driver's side on the front. But the rest of them, none of them fit. They weren't bent right. They weren't... they're just way off. So I ended up they were either the wrong length or they were bent wrong. But long story short, a little trick to that, a little tip is if you got to do brake lines on the edsel, go out, buy you a 3/16 coil brake line, because every single brake line on this car, every single one of them is all 3/16. So that's a little secret there. So that makes it really nice and convenient. You can bend them up very easy. So that's a little secret there. All of them are 3/16. So I'm assuming if the edsels are all 3/16, I'm sure the Galaxies are too. That makes it really nice. And that's all of them. The front, the rear, the ones from the master cylinder, all that. Now I had changed mine just a little bit because I had to separate my brake lines because I'm running a dual master cylinder on it. I'm actually running I believe it's a 69 Mustang master cylinder, but it's a drum brake master cylinder. It's got the 1-inch bore in it, and I had to put a dual on it just for safety because it was actually already on there anyway, but it wasn't plumbed in right. And the guy that had it before, he had a T on it. He had the front line on the master cylinder, rear, and they were tied together with the T, and then it's just a single line running to all 4 wheels. But so I ended up taking all that junk out and run 2 good lines, so that way the front and the rear is completely separate like they're supposed to be. And I had plumbed in that dual master cylinder like it's supposed to be. And if I ever want to put a single back on it, put it back original, I can do it. It's easy to do. All you gotta do is pop them back off and put the single line back on it. But I put a dual one on it because it's a lot safer. Because if you lose brakes anywhere on the whole entire car, you lose them completely. So that's something, if you got an old car, you're not worried about keeping it original, and you got that single master cylinder, I would take that thing off in a heartbeat and put a dual one on it, because it's so much safer. Because that way, if you lose, your back brakes or front brakes, you still can get stopped. Because this is a heavy car, very heavy car. And, you want to get it stopped. So that's something I upgraded. I was thinking about putting a fuel cell in the back of it and mounting it up underneath and taking my original gas tank neck off my original tank, cutting it off and fabricating it onto a fuel cell and just kind of might as well say retrofitting it so I can get the fuel tank back on it like it needs to be. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't like that. I think what I'm going to do is buy a regular 59 Galaxy tank and cut my neck off my original tank, and I'll center it up on the new tank and weld it on there, because it's a new tank, so you really ain't got to worry about catching on fire or nothing like that, because it's a new tank. I mean, it's never had fuel in it, so you'd be good on that. But so that's the next project here. We got to get the gas tank back on, get that straightened out, and because the 59 Galaxy tank and the edsel tank, the only difference is the neck is more to the right on the passenger side of the car. It's more closer to the passenger side versus the edsel tank is directly in the center. But otherwise, the dimensions are the exact same thing. They're both 20-gallon tanks. So I'm gonna take and do that. So I gotta work on my fuel system a little bit. I gotta run a new front to rear fuel line and get that new tank and get all that put back on it. That way I can get it run off the tank again. And I'm hoping, hopefully I can put a new get a new fuel sending unit on it, and I can get my gauge working in my instrument cluster there. But really love this car. It's a shame that the previous owner, he spray canned it black. I wish he would have never did that, but because this was a really nice original clean car. When I was trying to get it 3.5 years ago, it used to be this blue right here in this glove box. And if y'all can see it here, this video doesn't do it justice. But anyway, it used to be a blue car. It used to be blue and white. It's a really beautiful car, but they spray canned it black and they dyed the seats and everything, unfortunately. But anyway, hopefully we'll get that fixed back, and that'll take time. I mean, the car needed painted, but I would have rather it been left all original. But I still got to clean my windshield off because they got a pile of overspray on there. But I really wish they would have left it alone. I would have rather had the original paint on there, even if it would have been faded, you know, and aged. I don't care, because that way I would have known what was truly there. Now they paint all this black all over it, and it just looks terrible. But anyway, that's kind of where we're at. I got my temperature gauge working. I replaced the sending unit out there on the intake. The temperature gauge works, the generator light works, the oil light works. I had to replace the oil pressure sending unit because it was actually leaking right where it's crimped on top, so it's leaking, so I replaced that. That was an easy fix. And the only one that doesn't work now is my fuel gauge, which all you got to do is the wire that goes to the sending unit, just touch that anywhere to a ground, and you had to turn your key on, take that wire, touch it to a ground, and if it goes all the way to the full, the gauge is good. So all I have to do is get a sending unit. So hopefully I got to test that gauge here and make sure that's good. If it's not, I do have another instrument cluster that I can put in here and I can rob that fuel gauge out of. But hopefully I can get it to work, because I want to get all my gauges working, because that's the only one that doesn't work is my fuel gauge. And obviously because it's no fuel tank on the car. But that's where we're at right now. I'm getting ready to take in, I just bought a nice radio for this car. I'm going to keep the original radio in it. It doesn't work anyway. The tubes look like they're burnt up really bad. But I got another AM radio that's out of another edsel. I'm going to keep this one, but I'm going to pull this one out. I got another one that's supposed to work, so I'm going to put that one in here. And then I got a more modern radio. And my plan is I'm going to take this glove box here, and I'm going to retrofit a, let's see, get that light does work. That switch, see, I'm going to have to play with that switch. Long story short, that glove box light does work. Anyway, it's just a fiddle with that switch. I think. There it is. There's another one of them. You move something, just barely come on. But long story short, I got a nice modern radio I'm gonna put in this car. It's got the CD player. It's got Bluetooth. Of course, it's obviously got the regular radio in it. And that way I can take Bluetooth, tie it off my phone, and I can get on YouTube or whatever and play music off my phone and play into the speakers. So I'm going to put a modern radio in this glove box here. That way you don't see it. And it'll make it really nice. And I got a set of speakers. I'm going to replace the one underneath this dash here. That is the speakers in this car. Well, that's the only one that's still in here, is the one in the front of the dash there. And that one's still here. But I'm gonna replace them because they're just, I mean, they're deteriorated like crazy, and I'm sure they don't even work. But I got another speaker that's really close to diameter, so I'm hoping that I can get that to work. So I'm gonna put one back in the dash in front, and then I'm gonna put one back there where the other speaker used to be. Somebody had taken it out a long time ago, unfortunately, but that's okay. So you got the center hole in the middle there. So I'm gonna put the speakers in it, and I'm gonna put that more modern radio I got in it, put that in it, and it'll just make it really nice. That way you can listen to CDs if you want, Bluetooth, you can play it off an iPod, whatever you want. And the nice thing is it'll be hidden. That way we won't see it. And it'll keep the original look on this car. And because that radio it's a regular size radio, and I think the glove box should be deep enough. And all I gotta do is I'll just go in there and I'll just take a utility knife and cut a really small hole in the bottom of it where you can't see it. Well, not the bottom, but back here in the back there. And I'll run my hot wire and my speaker wires and all that. I'm not doing nothing crazy. You know, I just want to put a nice radio in it, just regular old speakers, just so I can, you know, have a nice, more modern stereo in the car. But not doing nothing crazy. Just that way I can have music in it. But it's definitely getting there. It's definitely getting there. So I'll put my radio in it, and I gotta get my gas tank on it, put my radio in it, and then I gotta take and do a few other odds and ends. The car needs exhaust really, really badly. The whole exhaust on this car is just completely shot. It's actually got glass packs on it, but I'm gonna run same exhaust back on it. I'm just gonna have to go from the exhaust manifolds all the way completely back. The unfortunate thing is both exhaust manifolds are going to have to be replaced because the driver's side has a crack in it, and the passenger side is absolutely perfect, but the downfall, the little flap on there to help it warm up, once it opens up, once the engine's completely warmed up, it's supposed to open up, that little flap on there is rusted completely open, luckily. But I had to spray that thing to get it where it would open. That way the motor would breathe right. So it's stuck open, which is fine. That's not gonna hurt nothing. I'm glad it's not stuck closed. But so long story short, I'm gonna have to end up getting both exhaust manifolds, and I'm kind of really dreading that because a little bit hard to get to, and not necessarily that, but more than anything, I'm really worried about getting them bolts out of them heads without messing everything up. And I may just take and hopefully I might just leave them, not disturb them, and just put a new exhaust on it, and just replace the studs on them just temporarily till I'm really more ready to pull the motor. Because once I pull the motor, then, you know, if a bolt breaks in the head or something, ain't a big deal, because it's kind of a little difficult to get to. But so that's where we're at right here. I apologize for the video being a little bit dark, but I actually got the wipers working. I had hooked them up because it's a vacuum wiper motor on here, and I had hooked them up. I got them working, so they do work. Of course, they're really not a good wiper. Vacuum wipers, I mean, they're okay, but they're really not that good. You let off the gas, they go faster. You give it gas, they slow down. They're not very accurate, not very good. So that's something I'm gonna take and put electric wipers on it, because you can get the retro kit there, and I'm gonna upgrade it to electric wipers. And I'd like to get that power gen that you can get. It looks like a generator, but it's really an alternator, but it's a lot, I think it's like 80 amp or something like it, a lot higher amperage. So that'll help it take and charge a little better. Plus it'll help run that radio too, because that's what I'm worried about, because I still got the old generator on it, and I'm worried about putting the radio on it and be driving at night with, you know, you run the headlights, plus you run an electronic ignition and running a more modern radio, and probably going to take more amps to run all that. But and plus, if you're running electric wipers, you know, it's going to take more too. And I don't know if that generator's going to be enough. I don't think it will. I think it's only 35 amp generator on it, something like that. But I'm going to pull it off and keep it. It works perfect. But I want to get that newer style generator. It's really an alternator, but it looks like a generator. But they're really, really overpriced. They're ridiculously priced, I think. But I may just put a regular old GM 10SI alternator on it or something like that. This would be a lot easier, but I'll have to make brackets. But you know, I mean, the car is not going to be completely 100% original, but the things on it just make it a lot more convenient, mainly. And I plan on keeping the car, so I don't plan on selling it. I plan on keeping it till I'm dead. But and the nice thing too is all the stuff that I add, I can always take it back off, and it's not like I can't put it back original if I want it. But I'm doing this for convenience, and it just to make the car a lot more nicer. And plus, being an edsel, you know, back in the day, you know, they were supposed to be ahead of their time. They were supposed to be a top of the line car, so I like to make this car, you know, truly top of the line. You know, power steering, power brakes, electronic ignition, more modern radio. You know, we're running radial tires instead of bi-supply tires. And honestly, I wouldn't be against putting air conditioning on the car. Get one of them bolt-in kits, do something like that. But I'm just kind of thinking outside the box here, you know. But anyway, that's where we're at here. You know, one step at a time. Can't put the horse and can't put the carriage in front of the horse there. So I'm working on it. My main goal now, when it boils down to it, my main goal is I just want to get the car fixed what's truly needed, so that way I can get a sticker for it, so I can switch it over to regular tags and get rid of the antique tags, which is a shame because I got the regular 59 tags on it, and I had bought them, but I really I'm gonna hate to lose them. So they're 59 tags, unfortunately. I hate to lose them, but you know, I want to be able to drive the car. I want the freedom. I want to be able to drive it. I want to get up 3 in the morning and drive it and go to the store, go get something to drink, and then I can do it. You know, I want the freedom of that. I don't want to have to worry. I want to be able to take it. If I want to drive all the way to South Carolina or Georgia or wherever, I got the freedom to do it. I don't have to be worried about being limited. That's the only downfall with antique tags, is you're really limited. So that's why I'm switching it. I just put them on there just temporarily, just so it'd be legal, and that way I can test the car out, work on it, test it out, make sure everything's good. So I'm gonna switch that over. And the shame, Virginia there, I wish there was a way you could keep those 59 tags, but they won't let you.